Hello, everyone. I'll just give it a minute or so just to let people get into the room, and then we will make a start. So I think it doesn't seem to be anyone in the waiting room, so we'll make a start, and I'll just keep an eye on that as we go. So hello and welcome to the sixth and final webinar of our six-part series in partnership with Mid South West Economic Engine, Carbon Fit and Innovate UK. Before I start, if can I just ask it, if you do have any questions, you use the Q&A function throughout the presentation, and we will get to those as we move through the presentation. We'll get to a time where we can actually answer these questions at the end of the webinar. And this webinar will also be sent to all attendees once today's session has finished. So today we're going to be covering the sixth topic of the series, which is continuous monitoring and reporting, and will be delivered by Carbon Fit's Senior Energy and Procurement Manager, Aaron Newens. These webinars are part of the Net Zero programme, which is well underway in partnership with the ABC Council, Mid Ulster, and Fermanagh and Omagh Council with Carbon Fit. And the programme seeks to support micro enterprises and small and medium enterprises operating in three key sectors in the Mid-South West region with their net zero ambitions. These are advanced manufacturing and engineering, agri-food and construction. And the three avenues of support available include breakfast meetings, webinars and one-to-one support with Carbon Fit. Applications are still open for registering interest on the next cohort of the programme. So all of our business breakfast events are now over. But if you do have any questions that you would like to discuss with the team, do feel free to ask in the Q&A at the end of the webinar or via email to anne-marie@carbonfit.online. So this is a six-part series. And the six topics are: number one, what is net zero? Understanding the basics of net zero. Carbon audit, assessing current carbon footprint. Setting targets, setting net zero goals and targets. Engaging partners, engaging stakeholders and building relationships. Renewable technology, implementing sustainable practices and technologies. And continuous monitoring, reporting and continuous improvement. And each of these six topics set to create a building block approach to guide businesses through a better understanding of their current baseline, and will give practical skills to help you measure and monitor a useful carbon reduction plan that can then be utilised as part of the business sustainability ambitions and actions. So there are a lot to cover. There is a lot to cover, I should say, on the topic of continuous monitoring and reporting. And today's webinar will cover a welcome to the programme, which we've already covered, a background into why monitoring is crucial, the role of reporting, tools for monitoring and reporting, continuous improvement, and then some next steps followed by the workbook activities for this webinar. We'll then take a break to hear from Abigail McConville from Simply Fruit to talk about their journey on the Mid-South West Net Zero Transformation Programme, and then we'll follow with an interactive Q&A session at the end. So do save up all those questions and pop them into the Q&A box as we go. So I'm going to hand over to you, Aaron, and we will be back again later on to ask Abigail some questions.
That's great, Michelle. Thanks. Afternoon, everybody. My name is Aaron, and I'm the Senior Carbon and Energy Procurement Manager here at Carbon Fit. I'm also one of the key client managers, so I work closely with our clients, helping them with their continuous monitoring throughout their net zero journey. So understanding why ongoing monitoring is so important will help piece the previous 5 webinars together, as we've discussed decarbonisation strategies, technologies, stakeholder engagement, and more. So continuous monitoring is the next step. Before you start in your journey, or once you've implemented decarbonisation technologies and strategies, you need to ensure they're working as expected and contributing towards your net zero goals. So, in a nutshell, monitoring allows you to track your progress in real time, ensuring that your efforts remain aligned with your targets. By regularly monitoring your operations, you can identify inefficiencies, such as systems that are not operating as intended, or areas where emissions are higher than expected. Monitoring also ensures that your business stays compliant with ever-evolving environmental regulations, helping you avoid penalties. As well as all of these, monitoring can lead to cost savings. Energy monitoring systems, for example, often reveal new opportunities to reduce consumption and save money. Transparent monitoring and reporting is essential to maintain trust with customers, investors, and partners because they're all looking for evidence that you're making real progress on your sustainability. Once you're monitoring your progress, the next critical step is reporting. There are two types of reporting you should focus on, internal and external. Internally, you'll want to produce regular reports for management that outline your progress towards net zero. These could be monthly or quarterly reports that track emissions, energy usage, and cost savings. Externally, reporting is about communicating your achievements to stakeholders. This includes customers, investors, employees, and partners. Many businesses are now required to produce sustainability, environmental, social, or governance reports that detail their environmental performance. When reporting, focus on key metrics like carbon emissions, energy usage, and cost savings. Make sure to include operational efficiency improvements and waste reduction efforts. It's also important to stay on top of regulatory reporting requirements, especially if your industry has specific guidelines for carbon emissions or sustainability disclosures. Thankfully, there are many tools available to help with monitoring and reporting. Digital platforms like CarbonFit, which will allow you to track your energy use and carbon emissions in real time. For businesses looking to integrate sustainability into their broader reporting practices, platforms like the Carbon Disclosure Project, also known as CDP, and Global Reporting Initiative, the GRI, offer standardized frameworks. Again, we'll provide links for all these in the workbooks. Using dashboards to visualize key performance indicators such as energy consumption, emissions reductions, and cost savings can help you quickly identify trends and issues. Automation tools can also streamline data collection, helping you generate reports without spending too much time on manual processes. Many of these tools are cloud-based, allowing for real-time access and collaboration across teams. This is especially useful for SMEs that may not have the resources to invest in large IT infrastructure and staff, but still want to monitor and report on their sustainability progress effectively. So monitoring and reporting is very important, but to maintain your net zero status, your business needs to embrace the concept of continuous improvement. This means being flexible and ready to adapt your strategies as new technologies emerge, regulation changes, or market conditions shift. A key aspect of continuous improvement is creating feedback loops. By analyzing the data from your monitoring systems, you can make adjustments that will improve efficiency and reduce emissions over time. This continuous improvement also involves benchmarking your performance against industry standards to see how you compare with others within your industry. Next up, we have innovation. Innovation plays a crucial role here as well, as new technologies are constantly emerging that can help speed up your progress towards net zero. Engaging employees in the process is a very important aspect when making continuous improvements through feedback, training, and incentives, which can all align towards fostering a culture of sustainability and continuous improvement within your organization. While reaching net zero is a major milestone, maintaining the status requires ongoing effort. Continuous monitoring and reporting are not just important, they are essential. Continuous monitoring and reporting will allow you to stay aligned with your goals, make data-driven decisions, and adjust your strategies as your business evolves. If you use the tools we've discussed today, as well as what's included within your workbooks to make monitoring and reporting simpler, you will be already taking steps in the right direction. Remember, continuous improvement is key to long-term success, and by regularly reviewing your performance and adapting as needed, you'll ensure your business remains sustainable well into the future. So now we'll take a quick look at the workbook activities for this webinar. Let me see. So I'll give you a couple of seconds just for when we come across to it to get your workbook out as well. Great. So yes, so now everybody hopefully has got their workbooks out now. So for activity 1, it's going to identify the deadlines for reporting. So the aim of this is to communicate deadlines with your team, either monthly or annually, for clear communication and avoid unnecessary delays. You'll see then from activity 2, we'll be able to outline the minimum data requirements. So the aim of this would be to provide a clear outline of data points to your team, ensuring all information is collated continuously and avoid gaps at your year-end review. And then if you flick on one more, you'll be able to see activity 3. We have this a table there to identify and assign responsibilities. So here you'll be able to assign roles internally to different departments to make this a more seamless process. So we can then gather data in a simple compliant method. So for example, the carbon fit request for information document for scope 1 emissions, which you've got up there. So basically, you'll have your fuel sources broken down to record everything in a transparent, clear manner. So for example, businesses will have, you'll be able to see their natural gas, and then you'll have that on a monthly breakdown for whatever your financial year will be, whether that's January to December, or if that's April to March. And then by recording that every month, means everybody's staying on top of it. So when it comes to, the reports that you're doing internally or externally, you have all of your information there to hand for your calculations. So if we're on to the next one there, yes, perfect. So you can do the same here, as you can see in the example, for your scope 1 fleet. So we're starting to see organizations starting to record the differences between liters used or miles driven for vehicles such as petrol or diesel, and the same for hybrid and electric. The miles for them types of vehicles is the most important, obviously, because electric vehicles wouldn't be topping up with any fuels. It'll be the distance it's driven. So again, recording that in addition to the information on the last slide there, like your gas and your electricity, is key in terms of continuous monitoring to move forwards with. So if we go on to the next one, perfect. So this is another example for the RFI for the scope 2 electricity data, which I've just mentioned. So recording your electricity, again, it's a big cost for businesses. If you have more than one site, you may want to do this per site, but essentially the electricity in which you're buying from the grid is what you'll want to be recording. If you've got renewable technologies in place, such as PV or wind, you would also want to be recording that too, just to see what your energy consumption is, to see how much energy you're generating on site for your use there. And then activity 5, so monitoring monthly to ensure continuous progress by team and identify gaps to address. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions with regards to the presentation or workbook, just pop them into the Q&A box, which Michelle kindly highlighted at the start of the presentation, and we'll get them answered at the end here.
I'm not on mute now. Abigail, can I just welcome you on camera then? If that's okay. So thank you to Aaron. That was really, really insightful. But if you do have any questions, pop them into the Q&A and we will get those answered. But we will move on to our sustainability spotlight now with Abigail McConville from Simply Fruit. And Abigail, I have a few questions for you first, if that's okay. And then obviously, if anybody has any questions in the Q&A box, we can answer those as well. So welcome. So maybe you could start by telling us a little bit about Simply Fruit, what they do, as well as your role within the business, if that's okay.
Okay, well, Simply Fruit's story started back in 1987 when Patrick McCann, the managing director, started his company working with Bramley apples for the canning and kind of apple pie manufacturers. But over the years, kind of grew and developed into Simply Fruit, which was opened in 2009, based in Carn Industrial Estate, just outside Portadown. And kind of since then, that's when we kind of started doing the apple snack pack bags, where they did about 25 million units a week, when we're doing much less of the snack pack bags. And we are now doing kind of fresh fruit pots. So Simply Fruit has grown into the leading producer of fresh fruit pots and use the likes of mango and pineapple and watermelon and melon now, as well as the apple and grape. And we deliver into major supermarkets in UK and Ireland. So we've been kind of priding ourselves on quality and innovation and sustainability. And Simply Fruit, I joined Simply Fruit last year. And one of my roles within the company is to focus on new product development, especially around the use of the byproducts left over from the fruit processing. When I first came, I kept calling it waste, and I'd get the evils from the guys, because they're kind of going, well, we bring in premium fruit, and though we don't not using all of it, you know, in our fruit products, it's still premium fruit, and that has led us to look at different new product lines using the fruit that's been left over. So there's been a lot of initiatives around waste reduction, lean management, and kind of really kind of starting to look at our commitment to go on to net zero future.
And that leads me nicely into the next question, which is, so you know, you're starting to think about that journey. So why did Simply Fruit sign up to the Mid South West Net Zero Transformation Programme? But you've kind of alluded to that, where you were starting to go on that journey.
Yeah, no, it was like sustainability became a kind of a big part of the discussions in the management meetings. And we'd had a number of projects kind of in the pipeline we'd been looking at new air compressors, more efficient machines, solar, you know, what I was kind of working at on the waste products. So, and then all of them involved huge investment, financial investment, as well as time and research. And we had no way of measuring how successful they were going to be. So kind of I attended a Mid Southwest conference, and where they talked about setting the baseline. And I thought, God, that would be really good if we could set our baseline now, and then we could measure the effects. And because, like I said, a lot of it is a financial implications and stuff too. And where was one option better than another? And kind of that would help us with our KPIs, or also our monitoring if we were getting funding for some of the initiatives, that we were able to have KPIs to show that it was going to be improvement to our carbon footprint. So yeah, that's what started it all off.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And are there any key drivers within the agri-food sector which you think is pushing businesses like Simply Fruit to really get, you know, started on their net zero journey?
Well, absolutely. Now we're kind of an SME, so I know some of the larger companies are kind of, it's becoming, you know, regulatory requirements for them to do it. And some of the larger supermarkets are kind of asking those companies to just kind of start showing and demonstrating, you know, where they are going to be, you know, going towards net zero. They haven't come down to our level just yet, but we know they're coming. So they're, you know, if you're going to kind of supply into the major supermarkets, it's something that you're going to be looking at. Another thing that we're looking at is kind of ESG accreditation. So that, like say, EcoVadis and stuff, some of the supermarkets are going to be asking for that in the next couple of years. So we kind of want to be ready for that and do it in a time where we can take the time to do it, rather than being pressurized to have it done by a deadline. So, and then also kind of the broader feel of when you're working with food or agriculture, you have that connection with the environment, and you want to take on that responsibility. And we have seen how climate change is affecting the fruit that we are importing in. From South America, you can hear the different storms, the different effects that it's having on the fruit. And the hot summers in Europe is definitely affecting it. So we can see the effect of climate change in our industry.
No, and as you say, it's starting to really think about it now before you maybe even get into those bigger things that come down the line.
Absolutely.
And how did you find, I suppose, the sign up process for the Mid Southwest programme? You know, was it easy? Was it technical? Was it?
None of the above. I was just delighted about how the process was straightforward and well structured, you know, by the team, and much easier than expected. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because sometimes I think, you know, people kind of have that little barrier where, you know, things can be a wee bit technical at the beginning of programs, and it's great to see that you haven't had any sort of barriers just to getting started. And how have you found working with the team so far in the program?
Oh, like the team have been great. They've been like incredibly supportive and knowledgeable. And then, like say, the process has been pain-free. Like we have been collecting the data of, you know, our electricity bills, our oil. We had all that, and it was as easy as putting it into the Excel sheet, and then having a meeting with Aaron and Zara, and them saying, "Well, this is what the outcome is." You know, I was just delighted that it, you know, it didn't take as long or as technical or as stressful. And once it's set up by the team, then as Aaron says, you just kind of continue filling in the data as you go along. And like when we get kind of some of the solar, or when we come out of contract with our existing electric supplier and go and look for a green tariff, we're able to see the benefits of doing this.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. And I suppose, what aspects of the program did you find most valuable for your business?
For us, it was setting that baseline. That was a big thing, that personally for me, to kind of know, right, this is where we're starting from with all these plans, all these projects, but having data to then look and see then where, because you, like, again, back to the financial implications on a business, it was just to see kind of what measures are going to, have the best benefits for us. And also it'll be able to demonstrate to our clients from where we have come from and where we're going to. And like I say, if you get funding, so for the likes of Invest in I for Solar, you're able to show the KPI, demonstrate to them the difference that their funding has made to the business. And like I say, it's that kind of being proactive at this stage. And like I say, with the accreditations coming down the line, maybe for some of the supermarkets, that we're in a good place to demonstrate to them that we've been proactive. Some of the accreditations, you can't say, "Oh, I'm starting today." You have to show that you've already been on this journey, and that's where that baseline for us has been of huge benefit in telling our story.
Yeah, and leading on from that, how's that kind of helped you on your, I know you've got your baseline, which is great. So how's that going to help you progress, do you think, towards your net zero or your sustainability goals? Is it going to push you on now?
Oh, it definitely. Well, everybody likes to see results.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that today, about something else. People like to see, are we doing well, or we're not doing well? And it's making those informed decisions. I think having the tool and having the kit to see where, having those informed decisions of where we can improve. And I think that's really, really important. Yeah, and even kind of now considering, like, doing our scope 3, because obviously waste is a big thing for us. Electricity usage is massive with us, and then kind of the waste is something that obviously clearly I'm focused in like our waste it's all being recycled. We've very, very, very little going to landfill, if actually very, very little, but it's kind of get the benefit of demonstrating what we're doing with all the fruit and the packaging.
Yeah.
And that'll be kind of, like I say, making informed decisions is very, very important.
And if you were to give any advice to businesses who haven't maybe signed up yet, what would that be?
What are you waiting for? The support and the expertise are there. Like I say, I've come from the construction industry, where you have NZEB and BREEAM and all the rest, and it's very technical and hard. So I was expecting the same. Yeah, no, it's been a very, very easy process, enjoyable. Start your journey now. Data is key, like I said, and small informed steps can lead to a significant impact. And I think that this program is a fantastic way to get started.
No, that's brilliant, and it's great to see, such a motivated and in an organization that's just ready to go. So there are a couple of questions have popped in. I don't know, Aaron, if you want to pop back on again,
Yeah,
you might want
absolutely.
to jump in for some of these as well. So, just someone has asked, is it really possible to have a net zero rating for a manufacturing or service operation without buying some form of carbon offset credits? So I don't know if that's for you, maybe, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the goal for net zero is 2050, and the aim is for all businesses to be net zero for that date. Now, industry specific, depending on what your business does in terms of process and who you're banned from, who you're selling to, there's so many variables there in terms of carbon emissions, in terms of inputs and outputs. There's only so much that you're in control of as well. Like, companies are in control of their scope 1 and their scope 2. Scope 3 is also known as like indirect emissions. So not just manufacturing industry, all industries. You cannot force suppliers or your upstream and downstream companies that you're working with to do or carry out actions to reduce your emissions, but with collaboration and working with each other, you can reduce your emissions. So, we're only 25 years away really from the deadline, and we get the questions every day. How are we actually going to be net zero by then? We've got these amount of lorries, or our operations are doing X, Y, and Z. And as time goes on, technologies are going to evolve. We're already working with companies doing research projects on sustainable renewable fuels. There already is like for like replacements at the minute. So there's, for example, HVO. It's a direct replacement for fuel. You can put it directly into a vehicle or a machine without any additional components, and it's a 97% reduction in emissions. Yes, there's a 20% increase in costs, but there is stuff there that which we could be doing. So it's just about, do they have budget to be doing stuff at the minute? How committed really are they towards doing something? But not just the manufacturing industry, all industries do have the same things available. It's just obviously the resources it will come down to, and as time goes on, will things develop further in terms of sustainable fuels and other areas for businesses to hit the goal for net zero by 2050.
That's brilliant. And I think maybe another wee one for you, but maybe Abigail have thoughts on this as well. But how does continuous monitoring influence decision-making processes within companies, particularly in sectors with high energy usage or emissions?
Do you want me to go, Abigail? Or
Yeah, please, Aaron, off you go.
No, I guess it's like, as Abigail rightly highlighted, like data is key. You can't monitor like what you're not tracking, So by like the example of the RFI that we had on the slide, companies need to see whatever your financial year is, whether it's calendar, January, December, if it's April to March, literally writing out and using the templates that which we can provide, the amount of fuel sources which you have month by month. Start getting into the habit of recording the data and information, like assign people internally to share the responsibility, because this shouldn't just be one person's job. Like, you need employee buy-in, you need company buy-in in order to be able to progress. Like, this is all about continuous improvement. It's not the case of doing something for a year and tick box and that's you done. Like, everybody is working towards and has to for the target of 2050. So for high energy intensive businesses, again, with big demand will come big energy costs, in terms of like electricity consumption or natural gas, bottled gas, whatever it may be. So all businesses are should be reviewing their costs, and with costs comes like energy efficiency. So for example, if you're using a couple hundred thousand in terms of energy usage, the spend attributed to that, if you're able to monitor that and see, like, if for example, if you have smart meter and if there's machines on running over the weekend, that's going to be identified with platforms like ourselves. You'll be able to see the hotspots or the anomalies as to, oh God, this month really looks so much higher than last month, and asks you the question, right, why is that? Let's look at that. We're working with companies who have been able to track on a monthly basis with a platform such as ours, and over certain months they're able to pinpoint, God, this month's high. We need to see. They're able to pinpoint who was working, and it's not about blame. It's about like sharing that we're all trying to work towards this. It's going to save costs. It's going to save carbon emissions. This is going to affect our environmental scoring and reporting. So tracking and monitoring the data is key.
Yeah, totally agree. And you can also see trends, and like it's getting those small wins, as well. We're not gonna, this the old bad thing about the elephant. It's one bite at a time. And kind of those small wins, seeing trends, changing a piece of equipment, seeing the difference it has made. And unless you're tracking it, you're not gonna see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like on one of the last webinars that we were doing, is if you're buying a house and you're going for a mortgage, your bank wants to see 12, 24, 36 months of your bank statements. It's the same for if you're going for grants and funding opportunities. Like, we would help a lot of companies do that. there has to be an evidence trail. We need to see what recording has been done prior to that in order to, you know, set the marker as to where we are now, and then in a year's time, 2 years' time, be able to look back and reflect on, right, this is where we are now. Look, you know, this is how we compare today against that time previously. So if you don't start now, you'll never be able really to look back and compare to see how much you have actually progressed.
No, amazing. And how can businesses, regardless of size or industry, adapt their monitoring practices to be both effective and scalable? Because especially just what you're saying there, Aaron, you know, and Abigail as well, going forward, the bigger businesses, as you become suppliers to them, are going to be, you know, pressing down, being a bit more stringent about, you know, the data and the information. So obviously about you know, that's that effective in making being able to scale it as small businesses.
Do you want to go first, Abigail?
You want me
No,
to ask the question again? Because I sorry went off on a wee bit of a tangent there
yeah,
in the middle of
please, Michelle.
it. How can businesses, regardless of size or industry, adapt their monitoring practices to be both effective and scalable?
I think we kind of, you know, even talked about that. You know, it is kind of that continuous assessment. We've been working really hard on lean management, and finding those small gains kind of can add up. And then if you are kind of, there've been kind of grants and stuff available for your solar or renewables, or kind of air compressors and stuff like that. And when you have the data there, you know, a lot of these kind of funding would like to see their outcomes. If they're going to be giving out money, they want to see, you know, that it's been spent wisely, and kind of monitoring it and being able to demonstrate the changes is part of that journey too. I don't think it matters what size of company that you're running. I think that it will make a difference. Now, get into the habit of doing it and making it common practice, you know, building it in as a habit is something that you just kind of have to work at. It's like building any new habit. You're just going to have to build it in, build a time for doing it, and create space within your workday to do it.
Absolutely. It's like I hear people saying to me now what health and safety was 20 years ago started off like this. You know, larger companies are were implementing it, or maybe even longer, like larger companies were implementing it. And now health and safety today is every business, protocols in place, everybody knows the crack what's happening. And that's the way sustainability eventually is going to have to go. You know, there's maybe only certain individuals or certain teams within organizations are looking at this, but in order to really get to where it's going, it's everybody within all businesses. So, and I guess in terms of like bring it back to the original question, Michelle, is like a lot of businesses use spreadsheets to record information if they're not using external sources like accountants, and they can see your bills, or you take photographs and it attaches, you know, receipts and stuff. Like spreadsheets is a good way to start if if you're an SME, for example. But in terms of scalability, you know, the program which Abigail and Simply Fruit are on, there is a platform available. So that transition away from spreadsheets to the digitization of data is really important now, because it's one safe place that holds your energy. It's always going to be there. It's multifunctional. Somebody can log in from somewhere else to view it. You can sort of spread that responsibility also, and seeing it makes it real. Like you can't actually see, you can't see electricity, you can't see natural gas. You just see your bills and the cost associated with it. But whenever you log in and see your data right in front of you in graphs or tables, or a platform highlighting, you may want to look at this is an anomaly, this is a hot spot, that's when it all starts becoming real. And that's where the scalability element comes into it. And for businesses for SMEs that are wanting to grow, as Abigail's highlighted, like get into the good habits now. And there's, you know, this is the starting point essentially. Like there's no, businesses are all at different points of the journey, let's say. So with programs such as this is a good opportunity to start, because you're starting to see, well, we're definitely starting to see, like in terms of criteria for sustainability, it's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. It was large companies, medium companies, now it's going to be SMEs. It's going to filter its way down. So by getting ahead of that, we'll put you in front for any new work you're trying to get, or if bigger suppliers, or if you're feeding into any other large companies, they're going to come asking, what's your carbon footprint, or what have you done to date, and where's your evidence for that?
Yeah, no, makes perfect sense. I'm just going to say one last call for anyone that's got any questions, if they'd like to pop them into the Q&A box. It's the last opportunity, because I'm going to ask the last question that I have here. So if you do have any questions, do feel free to pop them into the Q&A box. So just as a wee bit of a roundup, obviously we've talked a lot about the continuous monitoring and reporting. Are you seeing a variation across different sectors, if at all, Aaron? I know we've talked about a couple of different sectors here, but any thoughts on that?
I mean, when it the part to which different sectors comes into it, whenever the requirements is being driven from large energy users or entities that are having to complete sustainability that they've set in terms of their targets or goals, which may be short term within the next 5 or 6 years. So I guess it doesn't really data is key for everybody, irrespective of industry, irrespective of size. Like, having data, it's key to everything, and having that in one place is easier than what most SMEs probably have at the minute. You have electricity bills coming in from there, you have gas bills coming in from there, you have mileage claims coming in through there, you're taking photographs and screenshots of some things. So really getting into the habit of starting to record everything that your business has that you're in control of. As we highlighted earlier in the presentation, your scope 1, so that's all your vehicles, right? Let's start recording every month the miles that we're doing and the type of vehicle that is. Is it petrol? Is it diesel? How many vans have we got? So I think if you are going to be starting this journey, set out your sort of recording information template, which we provide. Start using that. That's your starting point. And then for your first quarter, you need to start looking at what is actually obtainable to get, because there's a lot of information that isn't easily obtainable. There is going to be estimations, there is going to be assumptions for gaps that you're going to have. So again, it comes back to the continuous improvement. It's like, okay, we didn't have that last year or last quarter. How do we go about getting that or recording that? Because you can only really make good decisions based on the data which you have, which you and your business is responsible and in control of.
No, makes perfect sense. And it really wrapped up. I mean, one of the other questions I had was, does it benefit smaller business just as much as larger? And that's been answered over and over again, in that, yes, even though if you're a smaller business, the idea that you're going to be possibly a supplier to some of these bigger businesses, everybody's going to have that rolling effect. Now, see, just one sneaky last little question has come in here for you, Abigail. So Abigail, would like to know from Abigail how the process of getting relevant data from the supplier base of Simply Fruit has been. What is the collaboration on the issue being like, and does Simply Fruit have any demands of their suppliers in this respect? A really interesting question.
Yeah, we're on the journey of that. We haven't started our scope 3 yet. So like we do with kind of our BRC, have connections with the suppliers, Food Connect and stuff like that. So we haven't really gone down. Obviously, we kind of buy through agents and stuff sometimes too. So we will be going down that road and asking our suppliers to supply that information to us, as people are asking us to supply the information to what we're doing to them. And it is that ripple effect that comes from above. So we haven't started our scope 3 yet. We do plan to do that very soon, and also set that baseline, so that we can see how we're improving, especially as for me for the waste project, but that we'll also be looking at our own suppliers, and how they are doing it. Now, I know kind of our transport guys here, been chatting to them locally, and I know they're also on the same journey. So they're looking at kind of differences for the diesel and for nitrogen and stuff too. So chatting to suppliers locally, everybody's on the same journey, but we're all starting. There's nobody there that's racing on ahead and has all singing, all dancing. So we're all working together, and hopefully kind of this time next year, I'll be able to tell you how we've got on with our suppliers and what journey we're on with them.
And as you say,
Yeah.
the collaboration piece is key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Even just to add to what you've said there, Abigail, it's perfectly right. It's just like, or forever even asked the question as well, Abigail, it's like, so we help companies do their scope 3, and scope 3 is massive. There's 15 categories, but for SMEs, like the supply chain, also known as purchase goods and services suppliers, is going to be the biggest one there. It can account for like up to 80-90% of a company's overall carbon footprint. So collaboration, as Abigail mentioned there, is key. So like, just for some real examples, like we'll have companies here, various industries, where they'll want to hold like a town hall event, for example, and they'll want to invite all their SMEs, sole traders, whoever it may be, invite them along, give a bit of a brief presentation about why they're doing this journey, how these organizations filter in, why they're important, and why they need to be starting to look at this and start recording their information, because it's having an impact on the client in which we're carrying the work out for. So I think by education's a big piece of this, by the SMEs and sole traders and all the businesses attending, you start to put one and one together to see how you are making an impact. And, by having your carbon footprint, if you're being asked for that from 10 different companies, you're able to, it's the same certificate, it's the same report that you're producing to the 10 people that are asking for it. So working with the suppliers is key. And I would say that there's multiple ways to record that. There's spend based, there's supplier specific. We carry out a whole load of different ways, which we're able to help companies do that on. And you'd be surprised, like a lot of companies are coming back and providing the information to help the guys that are asking for it. And there's usually, for us, there's like a 3-phased approach we're seeing. So there's usually people who are on their journey, and they've got their targets, their goals, they're motoring their way through it. You've got the second phase pot, which is people who are toying with the idea of starting, don't really know what to do, how to start, where to go. And then you've got the third pot, which they haven't done absolutely anything. So it's helping them three pots, let's say, to get to the same end goal of reaching net zero, essentially. So everybody's on different parts of the journey. But I guess, as we've already highlighted, the collaboration, working with your supply chain, communicating with them, finding out what they've done to date is key.
No, that's perfect. I don't see any more questions. I'm just going to pop up a wee survey, but if you do have one last sneaky question, do feel free to pop it in. I'm just going to share this little form here, if that's okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. So that is just a little feedback form. So if you can have a wee just look at that, that would be great. Thank you all for attending today. And if you can fill in this quick feedback form, and that'll be great. And if you do have any additional questions on the programme, do mention it in the feedback form, and a member of the team will get in touch. This concludes the 6-part series. All 6 webinars will be made public to view on the Mid-South West website from tomorrow. So if you do have to catch up on any of the webinars you may have missed, as well as this final webinar, if you can pop on there and revisit those as well. So I will leave that up there for a little second if anybody wants to fill it in. And thank you so much for attending. And as I say, all of those webinars will be available to you from tomorrow.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks
All
very
right.
much.
Cheerio.